Hello, this is Doth Nihilus. Welcome to the Abyss. Tonight's guest is a fellow sibling of mine with Ecclesia Babylon. They also have their own abbey. Um, Tonight's guest is Teth Baphomet. Going to go ahead and send them a... Right here. All right. So let's... Here we go. Oh, how's it going, Teth Baphomet?
All righty. Just gonna. Hey, there we go. Right on. How goes it?
Goes good. Seems to be a
Excellent.
little crooked.
All right, here we go. Let me see if I can position it.
Yay! We are not in the upside down.
All right. Now let's just hope it stays balanced.
What?
I said I hope the camera stays balanced. It's
Okay.
kind of teetering, but
Christ.
yeah.
So, first question. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Ezra L. My clerical name is Teth Baphomet. I am 31 years old. I live in Boston. I'm trans feminine identified. I work as a harm reductionist. I've been working as a harm reductionist for 6 years. Prior to that, I was a chef for 12 years. I'm sitting here with one of my partners. Another one just came home. So yeah, we're just kicking it on this Friday night.
Awesome. TGIF.
Absolutely. Oh man.
Real quick, I wanted to ask you, what are your pronouns?
So I'm pretty loose with it. I like in print, I usually use Z here, here's pronouns. But for the sake of, streamlining stuff, I don't mind if people use she, her pronouns or they, them, their pronouns. I think most people use they, them, theirs for me.
Okay. All right. She, they work for you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. So real quick, tell me about your Abbey of the Loving Bones.
Yeah. So, we're seated in the Abbey of the Loving Bones right now. Currently, it is part of our apartment, or I mean, kind of the name that we're using for the apartment. It's a collection of altars that have been gradually building over the past 7 or so years. The primary one being the altar to Santa Muerte, which started very, very small in the back of a kitchen that I used to work in and has gradually followed me over the years and expanded. Now it takes up an entire wall, a full mantle. And I think with the changing of the seasons, I like to change the decor around the altar to suit the season. I think this next one is going to consume even more of the wall. So we're really happy to see that happen. I just absolutely love doing anything I can to, exalt her and to show my adoration because she's done so much in my life. But there's also a Thelemic High altar in the other room, as well as a now growing shrine to Babylon that is based around of an idol that I constructed from a garden ornament. And yeah, there's also a small Norse altar. And then with the arrival of one of my partners who just moved in, there's now 2 more altars in their room. And, honestly, hopefully they consume the house one day. I would like to have them in every room. It's such a large part of my being that it feels suitable to have them everywhere.
That's awesome. I can. First of all, I am. When it comes to your Babylon altar, I just have to say that I am super jealous. You did a fantastic job. on that Babylon statue. I saw photos of the whole process, and it was just amazing from start to finish. So, congratulations on that for sure. And I
Yeah,
would say that your abbey is the abbey of the loving altars.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That Babylon idol, I at some point am going to post the pictures that I took when I was making it, as well as the ingredient list. Essentially, most of the stuff was sourced from Amazon. I'm not entirely stoked on supporting Amazon. But at the same time, it is very, very convenient to have the list of stuff that can be accessed from most places in the country. And so I'm looking forward to posting that. And so anyone who wants to have a cookie cutter copy of that Babylon idol will be able to do so. And I think the total cost was like 150, which is steep, as like a one-time purchase. But at the same time, for those who want to have an altar or an idol of that size and don't want to, have to have it like custom made, it's a really solid alternative. It is made of plastic, and then it is coated with a plastic-friendly primer and then spray paint. Really easy to put together, and it's just because of its weight, it's very, very light. It's able to be set up on, even a high shelf without any worry that you're going to have to put extra support in. So if you're not trying to put too many holes in your wall to put it up, you could totally do so. We actually carried it out procession style into our living room last night and had our first mass in anywhere but one of my rooms in the house, which is very cool. It was exciting to have the roomies come together and do so. And we look forward to many more of those.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the step by step and how you made it, and how you make that publicly formatted. It'll be very interesting to see. I wanted to ask you real quick, with regards to Santa Morte and Babylon. How does working with them differ, and in what ways are they similar in their workings?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the terms I would use to describe my practice is very devotional. And so they're both very much alike in that way, that there is, adoration being offered to them as deities. And so in my relationship to Santa Muerte, it's very much devotional, oriented in the same way that a lot of full Catholic adoration and veneration of saints is done. And it involves, I go around to each of the altars every morning before I leave the house, and, I offer incense and candles and, just make my adoration known and ask for the blessing as I go through the day. My work with Babylon is, I would say, more mass heavy and more ritual heavy than my work with Santa Muerte. My work with Santa Muerte is very much petitioning, but also it's like proactive. Like I just love bringing her stuff. I love offering her stuff. And on the rare occasion that I do need to ask for something big from her, I do so by making a large promise to her. Usually something about improving myself and improving my life and extending my life, like something for my health, something for my mental health, or something like, I had asked for, intercession from her to help me get a promotion at work, actually twice now. And both times I ended up building her multiple new idols, and both times, like a charm, promotion. And, I'm now in a place where I'm not stressing as much. There was a little touch and go there, a little paycheck to paycheck. I mean, it's still paycheck to paycheck, but it was a little more paycheck to paycheck and like payday loan type deals than I was looking forward to, medical bills and such adding up. And through our intercession, I'm in a place where I'm not worrying about having food, worrying about having housing. And I'm honestly just blessed and privileged to have that. And I truly believe it's through her intercession, and in addition to that, through my adherence to my true will, that I've gotten to this point. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very awesome. So I know with like Santa Morte that some of the offerings can be like cigars, tequila. I know that I've heard some people that they'll incorporate, like, they'll put joints on her altar too. Is there any other type of offerings that you would recommend people give Santa Morte if they're looking to work with her?
Yeah, so I mean, I love baking for her. It's, you know, like making a pan de muerto, like the little breads. I offer those to her, like little sweet breads. I buy her chocolates, but definitely tequila, mezcal, and we'll sit down and we'll have a drink together. And like those times that I get to share with her are just amazing. And then definitely cigars. I usually will buy like a Fronto, like the like wrapping cigar, disassemble it and then roll it into like hand rolled cigars to offer her. Just that like added personal touch of like, you know, here, I made this for you. But really that is part of it, is like, it's the same thing with the idols that I fashioned of her, which you can check out on my Instagram. And also if anyone's interested in how to make those, I'm probably going to do a how-to on those because they're also fairly low cost to put together and just such a beautiful tribute. And for the size of them, they're pretty much more economical than trying to buy one of the larger pre-made statues. But yeah, making something for her, making an idol for her, making a food or a treat or something for her, pouring her a drink is definitely a way to connect with her. I also am like part of my morning ritual is I put out a new glass of water every day, and then consume the old one in a ritualized fashion. And that's just been such an intimate connection with her on the daily basis. Just making sure that, you know, she sustains me, and I want to do the same in whatever way I can.
Awesome. And then with your Babylon devotion, aside from doing the call, what other kind of rituals do you incorporate into your Babylon devotional practice?
Yeah, so I mean, aside from like the call, and I'm planning on doing the 77-day observance again. I think we're gonna start October 6th.
Yes, October 6th through December 21st.
I'm stoked for it. I missed doing it like with the group last year, and through I was expecting to have a surgery, which I ended up just recently getting. And so when I missed doing it with the group, I ended up doing it independently. I actually postponed stuff to do it independently, and it is such a renewing practice. I can't speak highly enough of the call, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But I'll take parts of the call, usually just removing the like full mantra, like the full repetition, and just do a couple of them. And then incorporate a few other rituals, doing the Kabbalistic cross, as well as some chanting and stuff before and after the ringing of the bell and that sort of deal, and make it almost like a mini mass and a Eucharistic mass. And I try to do those fairly often. My partners who are over here, we do them quite a bit together. This is my partner, Tay. This is my partner, Al.
Hi.
You may have seen them on my Instagram. We've definitely been doing a lot of practicing together. Here, let me see if I can adjust that again and get a little bit more light out of it. We're good. I'm not made up in any way today, so I don't mind being a little bit lit. But yeah, so we try to do masses around here regularly, and I'm hoping to do more and more elaborate ones. And then, I mean, you know, I try to do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or the invoking and then do a star ruby. occasionally I'll do the Mass of the Phoenix. I actually fell out of practice of doing that fairly regularly, and I'm looking to get back into doing it fairly regularly because it's such a powerful working, such an affirming to the self working. And so I, doing a lot of that sort of deal. And that also, like my practice with the 156 current is very much interlinked with my overall practice of thelema. And it's truly, for me, the best fit that I've found.
Awesome. Congratulations. Especially congratulations on your surgery. That was very awesome and very life-affirming, I believe.
Yeah.
And speaking of the call, I've been wanting to do a national campaign to kind of push more people to do the call and more people to get involved with our ecclesia, for sure. And it's sort of in the beginning steps, but I'm hoping to get some more momentum as we get closer to October 6th. So I'm looking forward to that.
Honestly, down to join you in that effort. I think that it's something that all of us at Ecclesia Babylon will be pushing, because it is like such a powerful ritual, and one that you really don't need to be involved with us to access. It's something that people can just hop in, do it independently, and if they're not really digging the rest of what's going on, they don't have to be involved in that. But like truly, truly, truly recommend to anyone, even doing it a couple of times and getting the feel of it, even if you're not going to do the full 77-day stretch. But the 77-day stretch was such a catharsis and such a realigning. I honestly, the trajectory of my life was changed by doing the call. And I recommend it to anyone. Definitely a heavy one. And something that we do really recommend. They have, some community that they're working with to relate to, because doing it independently can be really heavy for some folks. But yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on both of those aspects, because it's the energy that Babylon brings to you through the ritual is extremely heavy. That's the best way I could put it. I mean, there are probably other adjectives I could use, obviously. And then the second thing you said about it's very rewarding and blessing and life affirming. That those words coming up again. But it's very powerful, and people have asked me, have you worked with Babylon before this? And I'm like, no, this is the first, doing the call was the first time I've done it, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a Thelemite to work with Babylon, even.
Absolutely.
It's follow your true will ultimately, for sure.
Or even theistic, for that matter. Because we know that there are non-theists who have practiced this, who, view it as just a piece of technology that helps us access things that we wouldn't otherwise access. And so to that nature, I try to tell that to folks, because, some people aren't really into the, the theistic deal. And even if you're not, oh, hey, Bob, even if you're not, I definitely think it's such a far out piece of technology to use. And I hope more folks access it.
Well, I'm glad you got to join us on your break there, Bob.
Hell yeah.
Let me see. I want to make. Real quick, there was a question I wanted to ask you earlier. How did you incorporate your Santa Morte ritual work when you were in the kitchen?
Oh yeah. So back in 2015, I want to say it was 2015. like early in the year of 2015, she just kept popping up in my life. And it was wild. And I don't think I paid as much attention to synchronicities back then as I've come to now. Um, and but she kept popping up, and I think that was kind of my intro into like starting to really pay attention to synchronicities. And so I was working 80 hours a week, running a kitchen. I was doing a ton of heroin at the time, lots of drinking, and it was a tumultuous time. And that's not to say that like I I don't look back on those years with disdain. They were a very interesting time, and I learned some really amazing things about myself during those periods of time. But she kept popping up, and so I printed out a picture of her on a like sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. Got one of the like menu books and put it into the menu book, and then put the menu book on its side so it was like a little easel, and it was in the back of the kitchen on one of the stainless steel benches with a candle that I think I grabbed from the dining room, and a shot of tequila from the bar, and a cup of water, and coffee or something. And that was the first altar. And I was working late nights, like I said, like 80 hours a week. I was working kitchen shifts, and then I would pull bar back shifts afterwards, because dope is a pretty expensive thing to do a lot of, and so I was paying it that way. Between that and being housed and stuff, the money was tight, and so the work was long. And when I had read about her, she was a patron of people who had that interaction with substances. She was a patron of people who worked late nights, patron of people who were, like working class. And, she was also the patron of people who didn't necessarily want to access intercession from other saints. And with my, early upbringing as a Roman Catholic, and my early upbringing also simultaneously as a Protestant, because split families, like I had some difficulty accessing the saints. And she was just this medium for that, and so she was there then, and she's been there ever since. But yeah, from a menu and an 8.5 by 11 printed out picture to a full, starting to consume the rest of a room now of an altar. It's just been a wild ride, and she's been there through it, and steadfast and right behind me. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's very beautiful, man. I really appreciate that.
hell yeah.
The one thing I wanted that you were talking about, the one thing I love about Santa Morte, and I know you would agree with this, but the one thing I love about Santa Morte as a saint, as a deity, is that she is non-judgmental. She accepts everyone who devotes to her and stuff like that, and she is kind of like the saint of the underdog, the saint of those of the others, people who've been marginalized by society. And I have a massive respect for the underdog and stuff like that. And from conversing with me, that when I feel like there's something that's not fair, my righteous indignation just comes out, and I feel like there has to be like some kind of voice, someone needs to shout out on the rooftops and stuff like that. So, you and me definitely siblings in that regard as well.
Absolutely.
And Babylon is kind of the same way. And,
Yeah.
She's very open to anyone who devotes to her and who engages with her. And so I find I would say that they're distinct entities, but they do have some overlap for sure in
Yeah.
how they operate and how you work with them in certain sense. There are differences. I would agree with Santa Morte. Santa Morte, as you said, is more devotional, more a kind of like a give and take kind of relationship. Whereas Babylon is more ritualistic, more ceremonial based devotion. So and and also, like you pointed out in your kitchen altar, how simple it was to put together an altar. I'm sorry, I'm a bougie bitch. I
Yep.
have to buy all of the fucking shiny shit,
Yep.
and and now coming from a person that's been practicing on and off for 5 6 years, as far as like paganism and stuff, you don't need any of that really flashy shit. You can start off very small, even cobra. Yeah, think outside the box for sure.
Yep. Dude, what's the quote? It's all in your head, but you just haven't realized how big your head is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
I
my
I I, I totally agree. I think that the one of the most powerful tools of like direction that we have is
the
the
Buddha.
fig. To cast, to designate, to dispel. So just something simple enough as a repositioning of one's fingers can be as powerful as using a magical utensil. But sometimes it's nice to have the fucking utensil. So I'm totally with you on the bougie element. I want my altars to consume this fucking house. I eventually want them to have their own rooms. That's like the hope shot, especially because I want more people to be able to come and access them on a less like invite only sort of basis for the moment. But yeah, I want it to be as external as possible so that people can, come and see it. And that's going to require building it up and giving it space. But truly, like, if you have a candle and a printer, you could have the altar that this altar started with. And then in 7 years' time, it will consume half of your house. And, you'll just have to level with that at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's important for folks to know that there really isn't much buy-in necessary to a lot of these. A lot of this stuff is, very, very accessible. And that's one of the things that I really love about the work that we've been doing with Ecclesia Babylon is we're working desperately to make it more accessible, more out there, more available to anyone who wants it, whether or not they want to be involved with us or not, just getting the stuff out there, because more people should feel free to do this work, because it can be so life affirming, it can be so, powerful. And it definitely doesn't take, it's good to have magical utensils constructed within certain planetary hours and, have everything set up in order to do some of the more grandiose stuff. But it's also important to just have devotion and to have that like bhakti practice. And we can do that anywhere. It could be on a street corner. In my work, working with people experiencing homelessness and people who use drugs who are crashing outside and stuff, like, dude, I've even seen folks in that position with spiritual practices that they carry with them. And it's like, you don't need to have everything in order to be able to do everything. Because, when it comes down to it, it's within us. We are able to access this. We are able to put it into practice and put it forward. Yeah.
100%. I agree with you on that. And it wasn't until like recently that I learned that I think it was I want to say it was a Crowley quote from from the Laws for All, but he said basically that the ability no, it was I think it was Peter J. Carroll and Lieber Null and Psychonaut. That was who I remember the quote from. But basically, what Peter was saying was that the adept is able to basically do all of the rituals, whether it's LBRP, just in your mind. You can just close your eyes, picture your altar, and honestly, I have a glorious altar in my head.
Absolutely.
So you visualize and you do all this stuff in your head. I mean, Crowley, for buying Boleskine and stuff, he did the Abramelin ritual in his head in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Yep.
So I mean, you don't need and that's the funny thing. Everyone, like when they're a novice and stuff, they're always encouraged to have all these ritual implements and everything. But really, all you just need is this and your heart.
I can't remember the name of the count. I want to say it's My Abramelin Journey. But there is a person who is doing the working. I believe it's in their house. I'm not positive. I haven't, picked their brain about it. But they've put together an effective altar for it in a very small space that looks like they're working with. And they're able to perform such a massive and powerful ritual in that space. And, I want to see more of that, because not many of us have access to 6+ month PTO and a bunch of construction permits and a lot of lumber and other stuff that we're going to need to put together all of this other, prescribed, tools and settings. But I don't in any way think that there's any issue with modifying to suit your practice, because we live in different times than when a lot of these technologies were discovered, and we have to adapt them in order to suit the current time and the current material conditions. And so I really, that account, I want to say My Abramelin Journey, not positive. I would recommend following it.
Right. I think we both follow each other. Because I see them like a lot of my posts here on Instagram,
yep.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm loving what they're doing. It's wicked far out, and I would recommend people check it out. I'm in awe of them, and want to see them continue on their path, because it's just, honestly, I get such a fucking kick out of being on Instagram and being able to follow the people that I follow and see all their stuff. I don't know what it is. Whenever I'm scrolling, I'm not as liberal with the like button as I need to be. I fucking truly love the shit that I see, the people that I follow posting, but for whatever reason, the connection to actually hit the button is just not always there. But I get such a kick out of watching all of these different practices, and watching the impact they have on people's lives, because it's just fucking magical, in every sense of the word. And yeah,
that's awesome.
That's been one of the really cool things about being within the community of Ecclesia Babylon too, is getting to see a lot of the overlap in our practice, because we do a lot of the same stuff, and watching each other's different interpretations and different formulations of the same basic ideas and concepts and rituals, and getting a little bit of everyone's take on it, and also being able to draw upon that and bring that into our own practice. The skill share and the free luminous nature of it is sparkling.
And that's the one thing I love about Ecclesia and our tradition practice is is the free Illuminism open source aspect of it. It's definitely very much where I am when it comes to occult learning, and kind of why I posted the link to those books for people to download. Um, and a lot of it, and I will specify in here for future reference in case anyone is interested. I do not post links to books that are still in print. So all of the books and links that I post will only be to books or editions that are no longer in print.
Yeah.
Just for general curiosity going forward. I'm trying to think. There was a question I had on the tip of my tongue. But it's beautiful seeing everyone's practices and how different it is. And my practice is very kind of similar to yours. I do the Kabbalistic cross. I do. I don't always do the full mantra recitation. I kind of condense it down, but I do, like you do, a Eucharist type mass, very small and quick before I go to bed. But yeah, I see those parallels between our practices for sure.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that you were working with people who were homeless and who were drug addicts. How does your advocacy for those particular groups, and how do you incorporate that with your practice, and how those parallels draw?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I like firmly and openly identify as a person who uses drugs, like actively. I think that the alteration of the mind is something that should be free and available, or not criminalized, for anybody. And I think that, we currently exist in a space where the criminalization of the consumption of substances serves only the current ruling class, serves only to mass incarcerate oppressed people, and, to further oppress the workers. And I, in my practice, like, who's it, Neem Karoli Baba, specifically like Krishna Das referring to Maharaji, and the quote that Maharaji offered him was, what was it? It was, love everyone, serve everyone, and remember God. And like that's the essence of my like philosophy when I'm working, is like I carry my spirituality with me, like the battle vest that I wear every day when I go out. The back of it says "Keep calm and carry Narcan," and the front of it has the sigil of Babylon and a picture of Santa Muerte. I had some patches made. One of them says "Do what thou wilt." It's right below the patch that I had made that says "Junkie" across it, which is a title that I carry with me everywhere I go. It was a title that was forced onto me by people who wanted to stigmatize behaviors that I was exhibiting. And it's now something that I wear as a badge of honor, because, I truly see no issue with the desire to alter the mind, especially when we're existing in a society that deprives us of basic needs, mental health care, housing, employment, that sort of deal, and shelter. But, I bring my spirituality with me everywhere I go. When I took on the name that I currently use, when I distanced myself from a previous name that I had taken on, that had like familial ties, that turned out not to even be familial ties. Long story, not going to get into it.
Okay.
But anyway, when I took on my name, I took it on as a devotional name. My name's Ezra L. My name is, help from God, helped by God. Someone who knows Hebrew is going to be mad because I probably butchered that. I can't remember if it's helped from or helped by. But at any rate, I took that on as a devotional name because that's who I am and who I hope to be, depending on how you translate it. I like to carry the love that I've received from the deities who I am devoted to, and to carry that out into the world, because it's what we need to be doing. The same groups who are trying to repress the free practice of religion are the same groups who are forcing people out of houses, are the same groups who are denying people health care, are the same groups who are looking to make profit at every turn. Those are the same people who are looking to repress religion and to force us into a Christo-fascist nation, or these pseudo-Christians who want to dictate the way that everybody lives, because they're at their base, they're not really practicing any sort of faith. They're practicing allegiance to the almighty dollar. And I mean, I would even encourage them to read their own scripture. You can't serve God and Mammon. You can't have two, according to them. So they're defying their own. They're exposing themselves as transparent as possible. And I believe that is the duty of all of us who practice, these liberatory and affirming spiritual practices, to also, in our lives, in whatever way we can, offer support to the folks who need it, because that is truly one of the most powerful acts that we can do. I'll offer Santa Muerte money when I have cash. I generally don't carry cash. I usually use a debit card because I am awesome at losing things, and the debit card you can replace, and cash is just gone. So, but when I do offer her cash, a lot of the time, or when I use it in rituals to her, specific workings for her, and there is money being offered for a prosperity or a luck sort of ritual. When the other ritual supplies are either burned off or buried or dispersed in whatever way is recommended, the money I'll go and hand to somebody who needs it, somebody who's chilling. And I honestly, I think there's no better way to honor her. We were talking about how she's, a patron of underdogs, and what better way to honor a deity of that sort than to offer support to somebody who needs it. And I mean, I think that is in part, the essence of some of the work I do. And then on the flip side of that, as a person who uses drugs, I want to help other people who use drugs, plain and simple. I want to make sure that they're able to continue to exist. I've lost several best friends, family members to opioid overdose. But every day in my capacity as a harm reductionist, I teach people how to use Narcan. I've trained thousands of people by this point on how to use Narcan, and distributed, probably close to thousands of doses as well, if not more. And that is, an act of devotion. It's the preservation of people. And I think that, when we exist under the material conditions that we exist under, and when we have the ability to offer that support, it's absolutely, it's what's required of us, honestly. And I mean, anyone who checks out my posts, you'll see, I'm fairly militant in the way that I talk about liberation. I'm fairly, line in the sand of what's acceptable and what's not, what will be tolerated and what's not. And I've gone toe to toe with fascists in the streets for years now. And I'll keep fucking doing it. But yeah, I mean, that's what's required of me, because that's, if I want to be able to continue to exist as a trans person, but fuck it, even if you want to be able to continue to exist as a heterodoxical, practitioner, we need to continue to struggle because the folks who are looking to do, the worst to the least of us are looking to do it to us in particular. And whether people want to acknowledge that or not, it's demonstrable. And so, yeah.
100%. I agree with you on that for sure. And to elaborate on, to expand on that, my view is that trans rights, the recent attack on trans rights is the canary in the coal mine. It is the beginning of the attacking on everyone's rights, because it's like that saying, they came for the communists and there wasn't communists. It's the same concept. Just
Yep.
because they're not attacking you now does not mean that they're not going to come for you later. And by the time they get to you, you might not have anybody in your corner, because all the other people might be gone. So and also in my personal view, people who are already marginalized, people who are already face persecution, should not in turn be persecuting other people. I think that's, honestly, Kendall, I think that's replay from my voice in Teth's computer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's my cell phone. It might be a little bit of an echo. I'm not hearing it that much on my end, though. But
I'm hearing it on mine, unfortunately. So I know what she's talking about.
Right on.
It's okay. I've just been kind of phasing it out, But anyway, like I was saying, and when it comes to drugs, I don't believe that criminalizing any form of drug is going to really solve addiction, because look at the stuff that people are already addicted to: cigarettes, alcohol, and hence also addicted to taxable drugs, And it's like, pick your poison. And every time we have tried to curtail any kind of addiction or any kind of criminal or immoral behavior, we've created a black market, or
black market,
or forced it underground.
And so, that's the thing about prohibition, is prohibition isn't meant to curtail substance consumption. That's just prohibition in all of its forms, as relating to substances, has been about social control. You look at the legacy of the criminalization of cocaine. I want to say it was 1900s. They criminalized cocaine, and at the same time they were doing that, what they were publishing in the press was that black workers were taking cocaine, and that made them, frenzied. And so the police were saying at the time that a regular bullet, the bullet that they were carrying, wouldn't be able to subdue them. And so they started carrying larger caliber weapons. It's like, you look at cannabis. The reason why we call cannabis marijuana was it was a press game. It was like social control. It was to demonize Mexican immigrants. It was to further xenophobic, purposes. You look at the criminalization of hallucinogens. Recently, you look at the criminalization of opioids. Anytime we criminalize a substance, a new, more powerful, like you criminalize beer and wine, people are going to make moonshine. Why? Because it's easier to transport a higher volume of the active chemical that's going to intoxicate people, because it's more concentrated. The same can be said about fentanyl. Fentanyl is ideal if you're looking to engage in the illicit substance trade, because it's very fucking potent. And so rather than having to worry about poppy fields and geopolitical conflict that can inhibit the ability to access them, all you need is the precursors to create it. And when you transport it, you're not transporting fucking massive bales of shit. You're transporting very small amounts, because it's extremely potent. The reason why we have fentanyl right now is because of how criminalized opioids are. And, that's not even to get into the fact that when we had a bunch of people on prescription opioids, which are an effective treatment of pain, we, in a moral panic, pulled the rug out from under them, and they ended up turning to street markets, like illicit markets. And when that happened, there was a massive boom in demand, and fentanyl was introduced as a way to curtail, initially, the cost of opioids on the illicit market. And it was found to be such an effective illicit substance because of the aforementioned reasons that it boomed. And so now not only are we seeing, fentanyl, we're seeing fentanyl's analogs, of which there are like 40 different ones. And bag to bag, you don't know what you're getting. Another really great thing to look at, and we're going to end up on a tangent if we keep going, but another really great thing to look at is synthetic cannabinoids. Because cannabis was criminalized, people started consuming synthetic cannabinoids, and because each individual molecule, because of the way we criminalize substances in this country, because each individual molecule was being criminalized one at a time, new molecules were popping up, because that's how analogs and the Analog Act work. If it's sold in a not for human consumption form, it can be like a gray legal sort of thing. And so now we have what people call K2 or spice, fake weed, however you want to say it. And bag to bag of that, you don't know which synthetic cannabinoid you're getting. And so the safety profile for it is unknown when you take it. And so I can't remember which city in Connecticut, and I want to say it was in 2018, 72 people in one area all overdosed on a synthetic cannabinoid, and they instantly thought it was an opioid. It wasn't. It was a synthetic cannabinoid, and because we've criminalized weed, 72 people were put into a life-threatening situation. It's absolute madness.
Are those artificial cannabinoids? You can grow those, right?
No, so artificial cannabinoids are synthesized in a lab from a chemical. They're chemical start to finish, and that's another reason why they're so profitable and so accessible, is that they are not dependent on soil. They're not dependent on growing conditions, hydroponics. They're not dependent on whether you can pay a massive electrical bill in order to have grow lamps set up. And yeah, my partner just leaned in to say, real weed can't kill you. I try to distance myself from absolutes, but the likelihood of fatality from the consumption of cannabis is next to nil.
I just kept telling myself, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die.
And so to that effect, the fact that we would criminalize it, like if the physical dependence is unlikely to hit on a large variety of people. I mean, we look at, I believe the statistic is 85% of people who consume drugs, and this is all drugs, everything included, don't develop a problematic relationship to substance, what some may call an addiction. I prefer to refer to it as a relationship. But 85%. And then of the 75% who do develop a problematic relationship to substances, I believe the statistic is of the 15% that develop a problematic relationship to substance, I believe the statistic is 75% grow out of it, without any outside assistance. That was my experience. I had a problematic relationship to substances, alcohol, honestly. Now I have a fairly okay relationship to alcohol. It took a lot of shadow work, a lot. But, most people don't need the outside assistance. It's a very small fraction of people who consume substances, which a lot of people fail to understand how many people consume substances on a day-to-day basis. And the reason that it's not as easy to conceptualize is because most people are doing it on their day-to-day, and we don't see them doing it, aside from bars. But yeah.
And what you were saying about artificial cannabinoids and reminds me about one aspect of the Prohibition era during the 20s that I learned about is that not everybody was getting alcohol.
Yeah.
When sometimes people would make these mixers
Yeah.
with formaldehyde.
Yeah, or methanol.
Methanol, yeah.
So, if you didn't know about how crooked the U.S. government is when it comes to substances, look up the fact that the U.S. government poisoned its own citizens during Prohibition in order to deter them from using illicit alcohol. They poisoned the alcohol supply with the hopes that an upsurge in deaths would discourage people from consuming alcohol. The absolute batshit ends that this country will go to prevent the free and open consumption of substances. And the reality is that if you want to eliminate problematic relationships to substances, also known as addiction, provide housing to every person in this country, provide employment to every person in this country, provide food to every person in this country, provide healthcare and mental health care to every person in this country, and then provide non-stigmatized, judgment-free, amoral education around substances to everyone, and you will see the most dramatic cut in the occurrence of problematic relationships to substances, because at the root of it, you have traumatized people who are self-medicating because mental health care in this country is a luxury, just like dental health care. It's beyond the pale that we're still doing this. And at every attempt that harm reductionists and drug user activists or people who use drugs, PWOD activists, at every attempt that we make, there's this wave of regression, this wave of reaction that follows it. There was I want to say it was California had a bill up for supervised consumption spaces, and the governor vetoed it.
Mm-hmm.
Or refused to sign it or whatever once it reached. It's just absolutely nanners that one of the proven life-saving tools to end opioid overdose is being denied flat out on the basis of this backwards fucking old aeonic thought. And I mean, honestly, that shit informs my spiritual practice too. Part of the work that we do as Thelemites, part of the work that we do as participants within the 156 current, part of the work that we do as the heterodoxy, as the pagans, part of the work that we're doing is to challenge that old aeonic thought, because that is truly the crux that we face right now, or the crux of the issue we face right now.
100%. And it kind of reminds me of an article, a speech that I read by Che Guevara when he talked about the new man in Cuba, and also reminds me of how in Jack Parsons' Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword, where he talked about the new heaven and the new earth, and bringing about about the new aeon, and that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying, because everyone, that's the problem with old aeonic thought, is that people are in the old aeon are more concerned about the hereafter, about heaven after we die. The point of the new aeon is to create heaven on earth, to create a new world where people are allowed to freely develop according to their true will, and not be shackled by restriction, and like you said, that's part of our great work. It's part of our calling, part of our spirituality, and I definitely solidarity with you in that struggle and in your struggles as well. real quick, let me see if, because I know I have a few more questions.
And we definitely have to talk about the call.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we still have a little bit of time.
Right on.
We sort of already talked about that one. We talked about that one. Do you perform any rituals publicly?
So no, and no, not yet. So the next step for the Abbey, for my practice, is to hopefully link up with a few of the folks who I've met recently through Instagram who just so happen to be in this area, and hopefully get them to come through and to jam out together. But one of the next big things that I hope to do, I live right across the street from a wonderful green space, and I'm hoping to build I'm thinking about making it out of PVC, but building a high altar, as well as a water altar and a fire altar, and performing a mass out in the green space, and just hitting up a bunch of people and being like, yo, come out, like, let's get weird, and then head back to the Abbey for the workings afterwards. So I'm hoping to engage in some of that. I'm also hoping to do some stuff online. I definitely am getting over my camera shy. That when I created this account,
I'm glad.
absolutely. When I created this account, shortly after that, I did a reel talking about ecclesiababylon.com, the official website for Ecclesia Babylon. And I put myself out there, and I was nervous. It's weird. I've done public speaking. Actually, today is the anniversary of the Attica uprising. Last year was the 50th anniversary. I was at Attica prison, and I was reading off the demands that were issued by the protesters within the prison during the Attica prison rebellion, and reading them off over a megaphone, like a loudspeaker, so that the people who are currently locked down there were able to hear the demands that were put forward on that historic day. I'm able to do those things. I've spoken at the State House, for trying to get supervised consumption spaces in Massachusetts. I've done Narcan training after Narcan training after Narcan training. That's actually how I met one of my partners, who I've been with for years now, was at a Narcan training. Well, before that, but that's when we really kind of started to hit it off. But despite all of that, it still has been difficult for me to post videos of ritual. Actually, I mean, even until recently, honestly, until the call, it was kind of difficult for me to do ritual in front of other people. There was just eyes on me sort of feeling when that was happening. And I've broken free of that, and so I'm sure I'll be able to break free of my stage fright, and eventually you'll see rituals live from the Abbey of the Loving Bones. And I'm excited for that day to come, because truly, I want this technology to get out there. I want people to enjoy it, and to access it. And honestly, I want people to feel comfortable doing the same. And that, starts with the individual.
Awesome. That's great. And I look forward to seeing your public live rituals on whatever platform you choose, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or wherever. I look forward to seeing them for sure. How many members do you have within your Abbey of the Loving Bones, and what roles do they play in your practice?
So I mean, currently it's my best friend, who has come here and performed a ritual with us, and then my partners, two of whom live here, and then one who's over here quite a bit, and hopefully my other partner will also join in on the fun. And yeah, I mean that's really the extent of it. I had a roomie sitting on the mast last night, and so yeah, it's a very humble little crew of us here, but it's made it really intimate over the course of the past several months, and I think that was one of the things that really helped me get out of my shell, was that level of intimacy. But I hope to share that level of intimacy with other people too. Like I think that there's really something powerful about coming together to perform these workings, and also to just be in community with each other. I know Bob says a bunch like, we wish we were closer together because like we want to be like the old church ladies who get together, 3 times a week, have a bridge group going on or something. And that's definitely what I want for the Abbey.
My wife, she says that she wants to, when she retires, she wants to sell this house and get a house out in the country. And I told her only if I could have a compound like Boleskine or something like that, and bring all my crazy friends over. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're here at the Abbey. We're in the living room right now. We've got 2 queen size mattresses chilling here. They've become our couches, but we also have a couch that folds out into a bed, and then I'm pretty sure we all have queen size mattresses. And we've been kicking around the idea of like we hope some of our siblings from the Ecclesia come through and make a pilgrimage out this way, and we hope to do the same.
I'll buy a farmhouse, and you guys, all of you guys, can come over and just like build a giant addition onto it, and we can all build additions and have like our own little fucking Winchester mansion type deal,
Absolutely. I mean, that's honestly the vibes of the Abbey here have shifted very much towards a parsonage-like space, and I am like overjoyed. I want to ride that current as strongly as we can, because it's honestly it's such an embrace of that piece that we were talking about, that new aeonic, free from restriction sort of existence. And I want that for myself. I want that for anyone who wants it. And I don't think we see enough of it currently.
For sure. And if that dream comes to fruition, I'll tell you, I'll get a further bus and come and pick you guys up.
Dude, I would 100% be down. We'd be like the band of merry Thelemites running around.
Yep, with their own little Bob Kinkeesey, Now, our last question before I unfortunately let you go, because I'm having so much fun talking with you. How does your sexuality reflect in your practice as a trans person?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean,
we left the deepest one.
I took on the clerical name of Baphomet. They're recognizing the divine androgen that I embody. But yeah, I mean, dude, sex is fucking powerful. Sex is an amazing magical tool. It's also a lot of fucking fun. And so I think that anyone who can access that in a non-coercive way, which is something that I think that we're seeing a shift in the practice of sex magic. We're seeing it come out from the more restrictive or more hidden practices that could sometimes be used in a coercive way. And we're seeing it become, that like free and open. So yeah, I mean, sex and sexuality is such a portion of the work I do. But it, just my existence, like one of the reasons that my relationship to Santa Muerte has been so strong is as well as Babylon for that matter, is I feel no judgment when I walk before them as a trans person. I just had bottom surgery last month, and like I have no qualms and feel no sort of like shyness about going before the deities to which I'm devoted as my true self. And I honestly, like, I brought them, I'm lucky enough to have them tattooed on me for the most part. And so I was able to bring them into the OR with me. And before I went under, I said a prayer. And, like, it was very much linked to my spiritual practice. One of the few things I brought with me to the hospital was a mala. And having that with me was just like, of course, I was way too zonked out to actually get into
that feeling. I know.
Like, I had this ambition that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do, like, that's all I'm gonna do when I'm in there is I'm just gonna do like a bunch of japa, and I did not. But it was nice having it with me. It was on me as soon as I could have it on me. And yeah, being able to carry that with me, and then being able to carry myself into this space, it is just huge. Like, I think one of the really beautiful things about this like new Aeonic practice is that it welcomes queers and degenerates. It welcomes people who use drugs. It welcomes sex workers. It welcomes everyone. We, especially us who participate in the 156 currents, we offer adoration to the Queen of Abominations, which is
all the holy four.
Absolutely. But I mean, like, and that's how we're viewed, and that's how we're painted by these old Aeonic folks as abominations. And so what better way to embrace our whole self than to be in line with this 156 current. Yeah.
And so the other thing that I was going to point out is very similar to Santa Muerte is that she doesn't have, the practice is pretty much, anybody come in and devote with her and stuff. Yeah, abomination is equal creation.
Absolutely.
156 Kindle for sure. But yeah, that's the kind of similarity with the Santa Muerte practices. It doesn't. There is no restriction or limitation who can practice it, or you don't even have to, like, for example, you don't even have to be a member of our ecclesia to do the call. You don't have to be, even if you do the call and you don't want to join initially,
Yeah.
you can, you still have, you still did that. You still are working toward that. And also, if you do the call and it's not for you, then, that's your true will. That's your path. And everyone is entitled to walk their path however they choose. They're just
Absolutely.
not entitled to trample anyone else's path or obstruct someone else from their path,
And, like, moreover now, even if you want to be involved but don't necessarily feel that doing the call currently is the thing for you, through Revelation, we have, and collective egregoric practice, we've now reformulated our formula for Ecclesia Babylon, and now there's space for folks who are just like want to come and hang out and see what's going on, to come and hang out and see what's going on. Folks who want to join Ordo Serpentis Negri, but don't necessarily want to take on the call yet, are able to come in, join the order, and be part of the 156 current without necessarily having to do a 77-day call. And then folks who want to do the call but aren't really, like, want some guidance while they're doing it, that is offered. Like, we are 100% down to get people, love them up, and make sure that they can carry out the working. how much time do we have left? Because I would love to close talking about the call if there's time.
Yes, let's finish out talking about the call. That sounds like a great way to do that. And then, real quick, before we get into that, how can people find you right off the bat, real quick?
So you can find me on Instagram, Teth Baphomet. I think it's Teth_Baphomet. You can also find us, the Abbey of Loving Bones, on Instagram. I need to get better at posting on that. I've just been posting on Teth Baphomet a lot. I always feel weird when I cross-post between the two, because I'm like, if you follow both of them, now you're going to get two of this same post. And I don't want to clap people's feed, but at the same time, it's not bad content. So
no, it's high.
But yeah, they can find me there. I'm also currently on Facebook as Shin Baphomet. I have to change my password because I can't freaking remember it. And then I can update my name on there to reflect my current clerical title. But yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, and then certainly if you want to reach out via Messenger and ask more about my practice or more about the Ecclesia. For the latter, if I can't answer a question, I got someone who can. And so, yeah, I would love to spread this. Also, if you're looking for more stuff about Ecclesia Babylon, you can check out our official website, www.ecclesiababylon.com. And then we also have the Ecclesia Babylon Instagram, Ecclesia Babylon OSN, I believe is the current one. And then, myself, yourself, Kindle, Bob, Sean, any of us, if you want to learn more about the Ecclesia, following our Instagram is a great way, because we're constantly posting about the Ecclesia. We're constantly posting about our personal practices and Babylon Gnosis in general.
Awesome. Sorry, I had this ball of hair come falling down in front of my face.
I've been catching. There's a moth that keeps flying through the room that keeps catching my attention.
Let's end on a high note. Let's talk about the call real quick.
Absolutely. So yeah, I want to the call to Babylon is a 77-day ritual. It is a wonderful way to align yourself with the 156 current, and I'm going to talk about my experience with it because the way that I've described it was it was like a karmic burn, just a purge. It was wild. So I started doing it. The dreams that would come after doing the call were vivid. For the first month and a half, every night, the dreams that I was having were about past trauma, stuff that I've held on to for years, and that though I've done some work on, actually a good amount of work on, and got to a very stable point, I still had a lot of attachment to it. And so at night I was having these dreams and I was being, forced to unpack this, forced to face it. But for whatever reason, while I was being forced to confront it, it was making it easier to let go of it. And so that was, the nights, the dream state after the call. During the days, my life was presenting me with new opportunities, new experiences, and honestly experiences that paralleled the traumas that I was working through. Reestablished new healthier relationships to things that I had poor relationships to before. And so the latter part of the call, the second 30 some odd days, just new and incredible and exciting shit was coming into play. I was having these interactions with people that were the polar opposites of negative interactions that I had had before. Synchronicities were just lighting up across the place. And, one of the things that we found with the call is that it's revelatory often. It informs our practice, and a lot of our practice has been developed while people are doing these rituals. It's stuff that's come to us and been put to the group, and everyone goes, "Oh shit, yeah, no, that's fucking brilliant. It makes sense." And it intersects with what other people have been experiencing. And so from the start of the call, I was going through like a lot of heavy stuff. To the end of the call, I was just realigned, and I had let go of so many things that had been holding me down. I had to face my own personal jealousies, my own personal hangups that I had, and it's changed, honestly, like the way I live, the way I love, the way I practice, my outlook. It gave me a lot of peace on things that had been holding me back, and that that's exactly what we're looking for from these practices. That's the essence of this work towards our great work. The essence of becoming aligned and aware of this true will and being able to carry it out on a daily basis. Like that's what the fucking call offered me. And I'm grateful for it. And I will say though, like it was heavy. And if I didn't have the support system, if I didn't have the community that I had, I may have had a less awesome experience, because sometimes having to relive through very vivid dreams all of your traumas for a month and a half straight can be, daunting. But because of the support that I had, and because of the continued work that we were doing, and all of the other wonderful things that we engage in as an ecclesia and as a community, and as a current more broadly, like it was just such a redeeming experience. And I can't say enough about it, honestly.
That's awesome. And I mean, there's nothing I could really say that could, you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth in regards to that, for sure. And all I can say is that I had very similar experiences with the call, as far as the heaviness of it, and experiencing when you're doing the call, it's kind of it compels you to do your own inner shadow work, and it sheds a lot of the husk, the dead weight from your being. It's kind of like, I would say, it removes the quaplothic burden from your shoulders. The best way I can put it. And I completely agree with everything you said with regards to how the call is. It's very heavy, but it's also extremely rewarding. And I would like to, for those who are watching this, I encourage all of you to do the call, and to engage in this operation, because while it is extremely taxing on yourself emotionally, spiritually, mentally, the benefits outweigh the barriers that you have to go through in order to transcend all of that negativity that's built up through over the course of your life. It is a very transforming experience. So, and as you heard, both of us can testify to that. And with that, I think we'll wrap up. Is that okay?
Hell yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I
appreciate having you on. You are an inspiration, and it's been so awesome to have you on this program and to get to talk with you. I have a newfound respect for you, sibling, and I look forward to chatting with you on the other side of the abyss.
Hell yeah. Love is the law.
Love under will. 156.93.
93, 156. See you.